scenario. I think there are predatory control freaks running the military and running governments and the banking system. I mean, that's obvious. But I wouldn't elevate them to the power of occult masterminds. So their symbol is the eye in the pyramid, right? The symbol of the Illuminati, the symbol of the globalist controllers, right?
Yes.
But that's not really why it's such a bitch, you know? It's really such a bitch because when we go and look at the pyramids are, the image of a pyramid is imprinted in the human mind. And everybody who's seen them, either seen them up physically, been there, is all the better if you've physically been there, has the same reaction, the same response. When you stand there in front of the pyramids, what the average human being does is it doesn't think, oh my God, these were built by the Illuminati, and the Illuminati are still around, and look at what they're doing to us. No. You just look at the damn things and you scratch your head and you say, how in the fuck were they ever made? And then you say, what on earth were they made for? You know? And so the pyramids create the same impression on every human being. Bafflement. They are a riddle. And this riddle comes around very closely to what you are suggesting to me here about the Webb project of preserving knowledge. Why are we baffled when we look at the pyramids? Because we don't know. The knowledge of how they were made and what they were made for has been lost, you know?
Yes.
Countless people have tried to explain how they were made. Countless people have tried to explain what they were used for. You want to hear my explanation? I may as well pitch in mine.
Sure.
Okay? Here goes. I think that they are psychic, electrical, acoustic devices. I think that they were constructed using acoustic properties, anti-gravitational properties, anti-gravitational technology of acoustics, and that they were constructed to provide electricity and other forms of energy to the Nile Valley, because there was a very unique experiment, a social experiment going on in the Nile Valley for several thousands of years, and that's a long story in itself. But I believe that the Egyptians had electricity, they had wireless transmission, and I believe it was a power station. And I believe that in a sense, it was a solution to the free energy problem, the free energy riddle. So, we've got a real big problem today, because we don't have free energy, or if we do, the men and women who discovered it have been repressed and murdered. So we have the enigma of the pyramid in front of us all the time, not as a symbol of the triumph of the Illuminati, but as a symbol of a great challenge for the divine experiment from Gaia's point of view. From her point of view, as Sophia would have it, she would like us to discover free energy and use it to make the world, to make our world on Earth, to make our habitat. Free energy is really important to her conception of our success as a species. And in addition to that, if we were able to do that, of course we would turn the situation around, the whole world situation around in 2 weeks. But in addition to that, we would have another responsibility, precisely the one that you are suggesting. We would have to find a way to preserve for future generations the knowledge of how to do that. And that is part of her correction. That is part of our future. If we can do that, you don't have to make a religion out of it. Make an institution out of it. The mysteries were institutions of learning, and they preserved and passed down a great deal of knowledge. But you know what happened to them, don't you?
Yeah, that's part of that technical problem.
Yeah, all of their books.
A lot of roadblocks by local and leaders local to a particular time and place. If the message contained within the capsule or the message written on the wall or such doesn't suit them, they blow it up or rip it down.
Yeah.
And then the bigger message for humanity is lost.
In the libraries of the classical world, all the libraries, ancient Greece, Iberia, which is now Spain, everywhere you can imagine, there existed every form of astronomy, astrology, the true Sophianic myth of the cosmos, free energy physics, volumes on music and mathematics and healing, and every form of wonderful creative knowledge you can imagine. And all of that was deliberately destroyed down to the last flake by these predatory control freaks. So obviously, if we pull out of this battle, and it is a war, it's not a war of my wanting, but it's a war I accept, you know. If we pull out of this battle with the predatory control freaks, we have to find a way to preserve knowledge in case that would ever happen again, or in case there would be natural catastrophes that would destroy the repositories of knowledge, you know. Big responsibility there.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Thanks, Edison. Yeah, and obviously we've got stuff like the Voynich manuscripts, but unfortunately nobody knows how to decipher them.
Yeah, that's right.
The next question we have is from Patrick.
Sure.
Yeah, John, we're going back into religion. I found Derek Jensen's afterword in your book, Not in His Image, a great summary. And I appreciate it as he did in the terms of the movie Avatar, and why it makes sense to cast off much of what religions have to offer as underlying benevolent themes. This becomes clear in your statement, in your discussion, that there are just 3 sayings of Jesus that epitomize what is truly unique in the message of Christianity, and as well you suggest they permeate other religions. And these are thoroughly compressed from Matthew 5. Number 1, turn the other cheek. Number 2, love thine enemy.
Right.
And number 3, thou art blessed if men revile and persecute thee.
Right.
Can you elaborate and contrast these parables with your understanding of indigenous or Gnostic moral concepts?
Sure. You know, paganism is just another name for indigenous people. Pagan means a country dweller. The pagan world was the world of Europe before Christianity wiped it out. And paganism has nothing to do with Satanism and animal sacrifice or human sacrifice. And every time I hear someone like David Icke or Michael Tsarian saying, or Alex Jones or whoever you want to name, saying that the mind control predator psychotics who are running the planet are Satanists and they practice pagan rites, I get a bit irritated, you know. They don't practice any pagan rites. Paganism, the ethos of paganism and of indigenous peoples is the strongest possible contrast to that stuff you find in the New Testament. I've often said, if you read Marcus Aurelius, he states in his Meditations, the primary understanding of pagan ethics: love truth. This is one of the principles of pagan ethics. Love truth. Love what is true. Love to tell the truth. Love to know the truth. Love truth. He also says that the divine so constituted human beings has to be disposed to help each other. So, mutual aid is part of our nature. Coexistence is part of our nature. That does not mean tolerance of anything, but it means peaceful coexistence and intolerance against that which threatens our peaceful coexistence. As you know, Christianity had to wipe out the mysteries and wipe out paganism because they could not coexist with it. Why not? Because if they had, Christianity would never have succeeded. Because the truth of the pagan mystery teachings and the Sophianic vision is so beautiful and natural. It speaks to our heart, speaks to our genetic memory, tells us who we are. It's so wonderful that if it had been available as an option, Christianity would never have taken root in people's minds. So, the contrast could not be any stronger. The counsel to love your enemies comes from your enemies. Chew on that one before you go to bed. The counsel that says turn the other cheek and resist not evil, which is about the sickest message that ever came down the pike comes from the doers of evil. Resist not evil is a message from the doers of evil. So if you can't see this, you're really in trouble. Really in trouble. And yet, people who can see that, and I have a certain amount of compassion for them, not much, but people who can begin to see that these teachings of, so-called teachings of Jesus are hideous mind control formulas, and they're lies, and they're twisted and perverted. People who can see that still have a problem, because it's like they've been walking around on crutches all their life. But they don't need crutches, but they've been using crutches. Now you go and you take these crutches away from them, or you ask them to lay down their crutches, and they're not going to be able to walk very well at first. And so, because they don't think that there's any other morality outside of a dictatorial morality that's given from an off-planet God. And so they have to, one way or another, have the grace of Sophia to lead them into the indigenous goodness of the human spirit. And that's the only way they can find their way back into their own humanity.
No, I understand. And people embrace what's in the Bible, and it makes them very easily controlled.
Yes.
In that regard. In your book, not in this image, I think it was on page 90, you stated, while it appears to be a commission from God, the summons to perfection is in reality a call to madness and self-annihilation. And later on, something to the effect that a religious meme that sanctifies violence and guarantees the righteous vindication of its victims is hard to beat.
Yeah.
Can you describe how this is embedded in each of the Abrahamic religions?
Well, sure. I mean, that's what the first 5 parts of my book, first 5, 6 chapters of my book are about. And I wouldn't want to try to reiterate all of that here, but I would just return to the essential point. When you deconstruct these belief systems of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, what you find in them are formulas for a victim-perpetrator bond. Victim-perpetrator bond. That is, that they are mainly scripts cleverly and deceptively written, disguised as a message of love and a message of our connection to the Creator. But actually they contain formulas that entrain people to a victim-perpetrator bond. They give the victims a sense of righteousness. They give the victims a sense of superiority, because the victims are told to love the people who are perpetrating on them. And the perpetrators, in their own turn, have the sanction of God to do this perpetration. It's a very twisted, sick system. And the reason why the Messiah is such a bad idea is because the Messiah always carries this Zaddik component. The word Zaddik from Hebrew, ancient Hebrew, Zaddik, it's a letter of the Hebrew alphabet, means the perfect or the righteous. As long, and this is where they really hook people, you know. Instead of giving people the message of paganism, which is, you're all basically good, and now go practice your goodness, your natural goodness, and you'll get better at it as you practice it, you know. You can make mistakes, and there are some bad people, some people go bad. Perfectionism is inherent in these religions.